Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'll be walking you through your 2024 Wildwood 31Kqbts. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired and pre-mounted for your observation camera as well as a lipid collapsible stair system. If you want to get set up with either of those, they're great additions to your camper, and you can contact the parts department and they can put together a quote for you. And then located right at the back, you have your spare tire, as well as your exterior shower, standard 751 key to open up that guy. And then you do got your barbecue. It works pretty simply. You got a locking pin on the right side here. Done doing the locking pin, pull it up out of its way. That'll allow you to slide out that barbecue. You can undo the clips for the travel strap right down below. We do recommend using that travel strap whenever you're not using it. Just helps extend the life of the barbecue. Once you have that undone, it would be like any standard barbecue, pop it open. The only difference is you have a quick connect line located inside here. It's hard plumbed into your two front propane tanks, which I will go over once we get there. You're just unclipping the collar from your quick connect, unraveling it. Pull the collar back like on any standard airline, insert it into the regulator. Once it's clicked and locked in, you can run this end back to the quick connect line at the back corner here. Just pulling the dust cap off, always making sure you do use the dust cap whenever you're not using it. That way you're keeping any debris out of the lines. Pulling back on the collar on this side, push and insert that into place. Opening up the flow propane as an added safety procedure. You can operate that valve, that collar with the valve open, and then it's just your standard hibachi. Turn on the gas, hit the igniter, and it should fire right on up. To take it down, it's just the exact opposite. Coming to the left side of your unit, driver's side of the unit, pulling on your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You just take a note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Just push that firmly into place, turn to lock it in. Then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug in. Now a lot of campsites should have this and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home on your driveway, or you only have 15 amp service, which is your standard household outlet. We do include that adapter. Just keep it in mind, if you're using the 15 amp adapter, you can't run your air conditioner. It really is just to run your fridge and your lights. Once you do get that plugged in, you get that blue light on the top telling you have a successful power source. The red light would be telling you that your source of power is bad and it's not a problem with the trailer. You got your two water inlets here. This one is going to be for your city water connection. So if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. Cable satellite inlets in case you have any of that to hook up. And then you got your black tank flush. So the way that works is with your black tank connected and the valve open. It's very important you do so. There's a caution sticker right here that does say it. Failure to do so could expand that tank to the point of cracking because you're pushing pressure inside of it. The pressure's got nowhere to go, right? So just important that you do use that precautionary. And then you got stabilizer jacks located at each corner of the unit. Always making sure that you do use your safety latches whenever you're traveling. That way, if this were to run down for any reason without you noticing, they're not going to drag on the highway. This will stop it from getting there. To get these down to the ground, you're probably going to want to use a power drill, which I will go grab right now quickly. But since we're talking about power drills, you just have to be mindful of how much torque you're putting on it. As they are stabilizing jacks, not opening that. You don't want to have power on there, or you run the risk of bending them. So you hook up your 3/4 inch drive tool under here. We do include a manual one inside that front compartment. And again, if you're using a power drill or power impact of any sort, just being mindful of how much torque you put on them, as you do run the risk of bending them. Unclipping your safety, little safety clip, of course. Run this foot down to the ground. Now you're going to want to lift up this guy, push this foot down to the ground. Once that's firm on the ground, now Now the idea behind this is you want to have this as close to 90 degrees as possible when you run it down. That way it's stabilizing as much as it can. So you're probably going to want to leave it on that last little second last latch there. And once you feel it tighten up, like so, that's about all the torque you're going to want to put on it. Because again, you don't want to bend it, and you're now stable, so it's going to take any bouncer sway you see you have in the inner right now away. Reverse, and you'll take that back up. Now you are going to have to adjust them, of course, depending on the campsite you go to, right? But that is how you operate those. Now you got your first drain here. You're just taking that sewer cap, twisting it off. You're just taking note of the ears on either side. It's the same ears your sewer hose is going to have. And of course, we do have a brand new sewer hose located inside the front compartment. And after your first use, you're going to want to pull in this bumper cap, take that out of place. That's where you're going to want to store that. Again, we do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. And this is going to be your gray / galley. So this is going to be just from the kitchen sink. And then we can come up ahead to this guy here, where you're going to have your black tank valve. Now, you're always going to want to empty your black first. This is going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then you can come behind that with your gray and then your galley. Just because it's a little bit cleaner water, it's going to try and keep that hose a little bit cleaner. Now, right back, it's going to be hard to see, but you do have a second black valve right in front of that rear axle that you're going to have to operate. I know it's kind of in a crazy spot, but that is where they put it at the manufacturer, so that's going to be the best spot for it. Once you open that, you can open up your second black, and that's how you would empty it. Again, it works the same way as the front. Now, walking a little further ahead, get your storage compartment in the front here. It does go right through to the other side. Right at the front, you got your battery disconnect switch, so it's in the on position like it is now. Batteries are connected to the unit. If you return it to the off position, the batteries will become disconnected from the unit. And as an add feature from that, if you have the batteries disconnected, it also disables the rest of the 12-volt system that's inside. So if you ever plug it in, you don't have any lights or anything, just make sure that your battery disconnect switch is on. Because again, once you turn it off, it does disable the rest of the 12-volt. You got your battery located inside that front box there. And then you got your 2 propane tanks right up top. Right at the front. Most of the time you loosen off these tabs, you can pull this flap open and get done what you need done, turning them on or off. But for the purpose of the video, if you had to change the tank, you just gotta slide them off, loosen this off, and you'd be good to go. Now, it's like any standard barbecue tank. You're just turning both tanks on counterclockwise, nice and slowly. Opens up the flow of propane to the unit. Tongue jack up front, manual override right at the top. This is going to be the other side of your storage compartment. This is also where you're going to find that 25-foot sewer hose, 25-foot water hose, sorry. And then you do have your manual tool for the stabilizer jacks, as well as your manual override for your front tongue jack. Strapped to the wall there. Whenever you're using the storage inside of here, just being mindful of the Versatilt bed. You're not going to want to block that of any sorts. And of course, you're not going to want to be affecting any wiring. Got your main entry door, which we will go over in a second. And you got your furnace exhaust, just pulling that tab. Open this guy up. This is your hot water service port. The power button is just right here. Turning that on supplies power to the thermostat inside. Got your pressure relief valve. So if you've had a trailer before, you probably had a tank water heater, in which case it had bypass valves. So you had to bypass it when you went to winterize it. This is the complete opposite. You run antifreeze completely through the system, and once you're done winterizing the system completely, you're just cracking that pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open for the duration of winter. You got your range hood flap, so whenever you get to your campsite, you're going to want to make sure you open that guy out. That way you can be evacuating those fumes as you need to. And of course, if you're traveling, just snapping that into place. It's going to stop any excess dust from getting inside of the unit. Furnace exhaust, whenever the furnace is on, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that because it is underneath the awning. So if you had chairs here of any sorts, you can melt. You got your fresh tank drain right here, opening up that valve, drains all the water out of the fresh tank. And the fill port's just right here, opening up that guy. You can put a garden hose in there, turn it on, and that is what feels like your fresh tank. And then right at the back corner, you got your little exterior kitchen. You got a 110 mini fridge. So this temperature control in the top right corner. Now this fridge only works if you're plugged into shore power. It's not a 12-volt fridge, so keep that in mind. Got some hooks at the back here for any sorts of coats or anything that you have. You also have one of your main GFI plugs on the wall here. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, make sure you check this, making sure the system isn't tripped. You got reset in the middle, test on the left. If that yellow light's on, it's telling you the system's tripped. The little light switch here turns on a nice little light inside here. Then you got your sink. The sink does drain into the galley as well as your kitchen sink. So now to get inside, you're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up fully 9 degrees, still lock it in place. Not allow you to open up your doors. You do it, you have to go open all the way, get your stairs down. Pull on the blue tab, get your stairs down, this will go towards you. You have adjustable campsite feet. Just have to push the button down with the corresponding holes, and then place it down. So you got nice and level stairs to the inside. Once you do step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is your fire extinguisher. Pretty much just like home, pull pin and shoot. Right down by my feet, you're gonna see get your binder that's gonna contain keys, manuals, things like that. Checklist for you that we also include. That's where you'll find all that. Now up on the wall here, it's your main kind of monitor panel as well as your light switches. Just turning on that dimmer switch. It's a dimmer, so it turns on all your main living space lights, and they do go bright to dim just by pressing and holding it. And wherever you let off is where the lights will stay. And it does have a memory, so wherever you leave them, again, that's where they're going to stay. The other light switch is going to do the awning light outside, and then the one right next to it does do an accent light behind the slide out. Got your water pump switch, that's drawing out of your fresh tank. Then you got your different tanks here, corresponding, pushing it will give you the corresponding level up top. Next, the slide out switch. So before we operate the slide out, you're always going to want to try and make sure that you know what's on either side of the slide, inside and out. The reason I say inside is sometimes things do tend to shift during travel. So whenever you're operating it, always trying to be visual, especially on the inside, making sure it's not getting hung up or going out uneven, because you don't want it running into anything, causing any damage or grief. And of course on the outside, just making sure you have enough room to put it all the way out. Pushing and holding the out button, which is down, the slide out's going to start making its way out. And once it does hit its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. You heard the clicking, so you know you're at your full extension. Now if you want to be extra cautious, just double checking that the rubber seals, pressing against the wall, that way you're sealed off against water. Next, you do your awning control, pushing and holding the out button. The awning's going to start making its way out. Now you're going to know it's a full extension when you see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Now unfortunately today, just due to space, we aren't going to be able to get the awning fully out, but I'll be able to get to show you the rest of the features. Of course, that's all we're going to be able to go out today. Now, if it were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better because it allows more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure you do push these arms back to straight before you bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And a couple extra notes just about your awning. Once it starts getting windy, maybe 5-kilometer-an-hour winds, starts shaking around, you don't want to make sure you do bring that in. It doesn't take much to rip your fabric or bend your arms. And if it were to be raining and then the winds pick up or there's just too much rain for the awning, once you bring it in when it's wet, always try and remember to bring it out again at your next earliest convenience so that it can dry itself. Failure to do so could accelerate the growth of mold or mildew, and we want to try and avoid that. Now once these awning arms do contact the side of the trailer, again, the motors are just going to cut out. Now right up top, you do have your solar controller. Now there's a bunch of different settings you can go around and play with, but they do get pretty in depth. So I'm going to recommend going over the owner's manual for setting all that up, but we do currently have it set up for basic charging needs. If there's sun being applied to the panels up on the roof, there's going to be a charge being applied to the battery up front. Now, of course, you're going to have to get up on your roof periodically and making sure that those panels are cleaned off. You don't want them getting all dusty and dirty. It's going to affect the quality of the charge. And when you are cleaning them using a soft microfiber towel with just some warm water, you're not going to want to use any sort of harsh chemicals like Windex or anything on them. You can start off in the bedroom. Opening up the door, the light switches on your left. You get your versatile bed control right next to it. Push up, the bed's going to start making its way up. Push down, the bed's going to start making its way down. You got your fire exit in the far corner here. It's pretty simple. Pull that tab down, push the window over, and then it'll allow you to pull the screen over. You can hop on out of the unit, just making sure you're mindful of how far the ground is away. We don't want you hurting yourself, but we don't also want you to get hurt, so try and make it speedy. You got sleep app access on both sides of the bed, of course, and plugins. You got regular plugins inside the cabinet and outside the cabinet. You do have two USB and USB-C charging ports on either side of the bed. Storage all throughout this unit, tons of it. Whenever you're using it, just of course being mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not going to want to affect any of that. If you lift up the foot of your bed, you get some nice little storage totes underneath for any sort of clothes or shoes or something like that. And then right down below, you do get access to that front storage compartment as well. And right here, they do call it a laundry chute, so you can throw all your dirty clothes inside there. Close it up. Again, that does go into the front compartment as well. Now on the wall in the bedroom, you do have a TV backer, so if you want to mount a TV, it's going to be the best place to do so because they added some extra bracing in there to hold the weight of it. Up top, 2 plugins as well as a cable satellite outlet. So now that we are done in the bedroom, we can take a step into the main living space. You got your main entertainment center, TV backer again, that's just the other side of the bedroom wall. Down below, you got all your plugins. You are prepped for a King Wi-Fi system. If you'd like to get set up with that, just contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to put together a quote for you. You got your cable satellite outlets, but you also have this little black button. Now, if you press that black button, it turns the green light on. It's also turning on power at the antenna on the roof. It's also going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so whenever you're camping, I recommend using it. But if you're not using the unit for a while, just try and remember to turn it off as it does draw battery power. You got storage all around. Sound bar, pretty much just like home, minus the fact of Zone 1 and Zone 2. Zone 2 is going to be your exterior speakers outside. Zone 1 is going to be this main sound bar itself. You got your fireplace right down below. Again, pretty simple. Power button on the far right. Right one to the left of it does your flame. The one in the middle does your different rock lights. And then you got your heat option, so you're pushing it twice to go into low heat, one more time to get into high heat. And then you do have a timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Power button to turn it off. It's going to run for a few seconds just to allow itself to cool down. You got your main kitchen space. Hot and cold water, sink, storage all down below. Up top here, again, more storage. And then you got your microwave, again, pretty much just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. You got your range hood and light, which brings me to your stove. Now, because this unit is equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Now, a couple notes about the propane system before we go lighting the stove. Whenever you turn the system off at the front, it allows air into the system. It's also exceptionally bad when you disconnect the bottles completely because you have to go and get them refilled. Lots of air gets into the system and it could take a few minutes to purge all the air out. So the quickest, easiest way to do so is I always recommend people when they first get to their campsite is firing up their stove. The reason I say the stove is because you can run it as long as you'd like. It's not going to throw any fault codes if you went to try and fire your water heater, furnace, or something like that. Those will only try lighting themselves a couple times, and then they can throw a fault code at you because they didn't have any propane at them. And if you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw a little wrench and frustration into your weekend. We try to avoid that. Keep that to a minimum and keep the good times rolling. So we'll get to lighting the stove. You're going to push the knob in, turning it over to the high/light option, hitting that sparker. Fires right on up, of course, because I did have the system already running earlier. Now, whenever you do turn this gas valve on, you're always going to want to make sure you're remembering to hit the sparker every few seconds. That way you don't get any buildup of gas and a minor combustion. We all like keeping our eyebrows and eyelashes. I've had it personally. It does suck. So just whenever you are lighting it, being cautious because of the gas. Gas is build up if the spark's not going. And as you're seeing already, sometimes it does take a few tries to get it to stay, just because so you just have to hold that knob in until it's going to be able to hold its own. Sometimes you might even have to get a second burner going first. Not sure why that one burner isn't staying lit, but I will look into it after the video and ensure that's going to be working properly for when you do pick up your camper. Getting the oven going is pretty much the same thing down below. And again, another note, because the gas orifice for the Pilot is so small, it can take exceptionally long to get propane flowing through there, so just keep that in mind. The little button on the right does do an illumination knobs. If you push it down, it turns on the oven light and the knobs. Turning that over to the Pilot option, pushing and holding the knob in, letting it load for a few seconds, and then you can hit that sparker. Once the Pilot lights and you can let off the button and have it hold its own, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. Right next to it, you do have your fridge freezer combo. Controls for both are right down below. Clockwise all the way with the temperature control to your coldest settings. Anywhere before that is a warmer setting, and if you're going to notice some off-grid writing there, that's just letting you know the most efficient setting to have it on if you're running it off battery power, since this fridge is a 12-volt fridge. And then you got your charcoal filter in the top left corner, just to help with fridge odors. If you'd like to get some more of those, again, just contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. Right below the fridge, you're going to notice this little sticker down here. It's just telling you the antifreeze inlet. So if you take the two screws out of the panel here, it'll give you access to the water pump for winterization. Now into the slide out, this is what we call the Versa Lounge. It's pretty sweet. I like it. You currently have it set up for a dinette. Now the dinette turns it down into a bed in case you were to have extra guests. You just have to remove the bottom legs from the table. Set the tabletop inside the ledges, put your back cushions, fill in the center. The couch is even easier. You just gotta move the one cushion off the side, pull up at the foot. It's gonna fold itself out. And now because it's a Versa Lounge, if you had both folded down into a bed, you could just remove the center cushion completely and you'd have yourself a massive bed. Or if you want to turn the couch into a sectional and have a less seating space for eating, you're just having to move those couple cushions out of the way. You're going to notice you got these on either side. There's corresponding stake pockets. Now when you are entering this side in between the cushions here, you're going to want to maybe just assist it a little bit because it is metal and it's going to puncture that leather pretty easily if you're not careful. So just making sure that you kind of help guide it through the cushion so you're not ripping anything, and you can, once you got it lined up, it'll just pop into place. And you just flop the cushions around to the other side where they fit. And you have yourself a sectional. Storage down below. Tons of storage. They also include some storage totes from the factory, which I thought was pretty nice of them. Up on the wall here, you got your thermostat that controls your furnace and your air conditioner. For your air conditioner, it is right here. Beneath these two tabs, you pull these down. These white pieces are going to pop right out of place. That's going to give you access to those intake filters. You can just blow them out with some compressed air once they start getting dusty, because it's going to improve airflow. And then you got your louvers, so you can leave these louvers open, in which case it'll dump all its air into the main living space, which I recommend doing once you first get to your campsite. Cool off the main living space. And then once you do that, you can close them off. It's going to move all its air through the ceiling ducting we have throughout and push the cold air throughout the unit. So coming to your thermostat, pushing it once it illuminates itself, pushing it again, you go into mode, pushing it a second time, you can go into fan. You can run the fan on either high or low speeds, just to move some air around with the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. Now if you push that button and go over to cool, push enter and enter, you're gonna notice now it says auto here. So whenever it's on auto, it becomes an on-demand system. So let's say the room says it's at 71, but we have the room set to 40. Once the thermostat senses the room is at 40 degrees, it's gonna kill the air conditioner. If you have it on high or low without the auto, the air conditioner is gonna run full time regardless. So just keep that in mind when you are using it. One more time, we'll kill the air conditioner and fire up the heater. The heater only has one fan speed, moves its air through the floor portals we have throughout the unit. Now whenever you turn the air conditioner off, or the furnace off, it does run for an additional 3 minutes to allow itself to cool down as an added safety feature. And a cool little feature the Coleman system has is it's got a cool plus heat option, so depending on what you have the room set to, will depend on what it fires up. So it'll either kill the furnace, fire up the air conditioner, or fire up the furnace and kill the air conditioner. Pushing it again, you can just go back over to off, and it'll kill everything. Our furnace is running still just because, again, we turned it on, so it wants to cool off. Bathroom, light switches on your far left. If you look straight up above my head, you got your vent lid. Turning that clockwise all the way will open up that vent lid. You're gonna notice you open up straight into the atmosphere. Now, if it were to rain, it is gonna get wet inside here, unless, of course, you went with a vent cover. Again, our parts department can put together a quote for you to put that on there, but it's just a cover that goes over top of your vent lid. It's going to stop water from getting inside here, allowing you to leave this open. Now, with that also being said, if you were to travel with this open, there is the risk that you damage the lid. But if you had the cover on there, it would help with that as well. Wouldn't allow that to happen. So again, just contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. Other than that, pretty standard bathroom, minus the fact that you do have a second GFI plug. It's going to work the same way as the other one that I showed you. Now, you do have 2 more slide outs just for the back bunk area, and you do have to open the slide outs before you can open up the door. Pushing and holding the button, again, making sure you know what's on either side of the slide, inside and out. Obviously, it's going to be pretty hard to tell that because you can't open the door, so you just got to kind of maybe have somebody stand outside and watch, make sure it's going to be all peachy. Here's the clicking, so you know it's at its full extension, so you can do the last one. Big thing with those 2 rear slides is just making sure that you do have room on either side of them. Don't want to be running them into anything. So they're at their full extension. We can open it up and hop on in now. Turning on the light switch on the left turns on all the lights inside of here. Now, going for all the lights inside the unit, they all are on their own set of push buttons as well, so you can turn them on and off individually as you please. One thing I did forget to go over in the main living space, the blinds, they all work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. And back into the bunk space area here. You got this currently set up as a couch underneath the first bunk. You can also turn that out into a bed. It just unfolds from itself. It's just a simple mattress. On the other side, 2 bunk spaces. Back wall is kind of an entertainment center / storage area. Now, the last thing to go over, you do just have your main fuse and breaker panel, popping that guy down. Whenever you have a breaker trip, it'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All your corresponding fuses will be on your right. There should be a little red indicator light in case one does pop. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.